Hello, welcome to the Mediocre Takes podcast, the podcast where we share our mediocre takes on the shows and movies we watch. I'm Marco and I'm here with my co-host Mel. How are you doing, Mel?
I played a solo board game by myself, obviously. It made me realize I don't really need friends.
But you need me.
Yeah, to meet my diversity quota.
Today we're talking about a short film / pilot called Welcome to Hell. There's actually supposed to be a Welcome to Hell 2, but I don't think it ever came out. I think the creator is still working on it. But today, since it's a pilot, Mel will actually be taking over the plot summary.
I do talk a little bit about the alleged part 2. Today, we are reviewing, obviously, Welcome to Hell by Erica Wester. We see a fridge being opened, and the ghost of one of our main characters, Sock, gives a shitty one-liner to our other main character, Jonathan. We cut to the past where we see an alive Sock digging a grave and dumping his parents into it. The narrator that we learn to find out is, Mephistopheles, tells us that he killed them in his sleep and he's feeling uneasy, not because he just committed familicide, but because he now has to kill himself. He does just that and meets the current person in charge of hell, Mephistopheles. Sock asks why he's in an office instead of being tortured, and let's just call him Mephi. Mephi tells him hell is being renovated, tells him that his job will be to basically push someone to sewer slide. Sock emphatically agrees and is assigned to, you guessed it, Jonathan. They meet at the bus stop, and on the bus, they end up sitting next to each other. Sock finds out Jonathan can see him, but no one else can. Sock spends the school day pestering him. Jonathan finds out Sock is a demon trying to get him to kill himself. Mephi checks in with Socks to ask how things are going, and Sock tells him it's hard because nothing seems to faze him. Mephi reminds him there isn't a deadline, but if Sock can't get him to dead himself, he's fired. And then Sock tells Jonathan that there's no harm in dying. And then that's the end of the short film.
Okay, so Welcome to Hell is one of those first animated pilots I've ever seen in my life, and I loved it. Sock is such a fun character, and I love that we get to have a murderer as our main character. Like how Mal would say, that is so girl boss. Also, I kind of shipped the two main characters. The way Sock was looking at Jonathan gave me like, ooh, they're kind of in love vibes. Also, the death guy says, oh, so you can't do it because you like the guy, which also gives him, oh, you like him vibes. I like the death puns the death guy makes, and I also forgot his name. Also, Socks is a ghost. How come he's able to accidentally like make the chair fall? Because he falls off the chair and the chair falls with him. Anyways, that's just an interesting thing I noticed. And yeah, this is such a fun pilot.
It's called Ghost Physics, Marco. I feel very neutral about the art, and that's all I'll say about that. This is a cute concept, truly. I'm surprised Netflix hasn't stolen it, created a heterosexual high school romance spanning 7 seasons and 3 movies out of it. There were some pretty funny scenes. I think my favorite was in the middle of class, how Sock, just really straightforward during his class, said to his face, you should probably kill yourself. I will say I love the part where the black border formed and got bigger and bigger and bigger, and we switched to a kind of a storyboard situation, like a comic. And I know this was probably done because, this was a class project and there was a deadline, but I really liked the switch.
I think this is a really good pilot / short film. I really wish this would become an actual show, or at least I hope we get a sequel eventually. The creator said that the next short film will happen eventually, whenever, so there's no set in stone date, because it's really hard to create something like a pilot. So I hope it comes out maybe 10 years from now, or something like that.
So I don't really have much to say about it other than it was fun to watch. The premise could definitely be turned into a short series. In fact, as we've stated before, there has been a released trailer of a part 2. It also seems much more dramatic than this though. Still a work in progress. I think there was a recent post, probably a couple months ago or something. So it is still being worked on. If or when it does come out, we will be reviewing it. I will say it's not outright said, but it is implied, and we do get scenes where we see a little queer connection between the two main characters. So I do categorize this as a queer film. So if there are any baby gays out there, watch it. This is a perfect introduction for any of our new viewers that also happen to be baby gays. I'm not done talking because now it's time for my little segment that I like to call the Mediocre Minute. This is a tiny little micro moment where me and Marco recommend books, comics, music, games, and more for all of you to check out when we don't post for a month. My recommendation is the album Steal This Album by System of a Down. Every song in it goes hard. Growing up, I really only listened to the first two albums. I only heard this album in full like 2 years ago, which is really sad, but I got there. And so many of the songs are still relevant, as with most System of a Down songs are. My personal favorites would probably have to be Boom, ADD, and, well, obviously, Fuck the System. And now, Marco, what is your recommendation?
My recommendation is Bloom by Kevin Panetta. So this is a queer graphic novel, and it's about this boy who's a baker, but he doesn't want to be a baker, so he becomes like a musician, I think, and how his love interest gets a job at his bakery, and it's about their romance and how it grows. Anyways, you guys, that's our thoughts on Welcome to Hell. If you want to send us a voice message on Anchor, there'll be a link in the description below to do so. We also have Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Threads, which are at MidTakesPod, and we have a YouTube channel, which is at the Mediocre Takes Podcast, and that's everything, so goodbye.